I was still holding the gift I brought for him when he said it loud, clear, and right in front of everyone. "I'm proud of all my children. Except the loser." The room went silent. Everyone stared at me. I felt like I had just been slapped across the face, but I didn't cry. I just smiled and walked away, silently. Before we go deeper, if this made your heart drop even a little, hit the like button, subscribe, and share this with someone who needs to hear this kind of story. You won't believe what's coming next. I hadn't even planned to attend the reunion, but my older sister guilt-tripped me into it, saying, "Oralia, it's just one evening. Dad wants to see all of us together again." I had no idea I was walking straight into a setup, one where I'd be the punchline. I hadn't seen my dad in years. Not since he told me I was a waste of potential for quitting my law internship. He never asked why I left. Never cared that I was battling panic attacks, barely able to breathe, let alone work. That night, when I entered the house, I could already feel the tension. My brothers were showing off their new cars, my sister was bragging about her real estate success, and my dad was clapping at every achievement like they'd won gold medals. Then came dinner. He stood up to toast, his classic father of the year moment. "To my brilliant children," he said, lifting his glass. "To Ben, who just got promoted to VP. To Carla, who closed her 10th property this month. To Ethan, who finally bought his dream car." He paused, looked right at me, then chuckled. "And to the one who still hasn't figured out life. Maybe next year, huh?" People laughed. Even my cousins. Even Carla tried to hide her smirk. But I noticed. I stayed quiet. No reaction, no outburst, just that same small smile. Because what they didn't know was that I had built something. Something big, and tonight wasn't the night to reveal it. But soon. They thought I was still broke, struggling, working at some small online thing. They had no idea that small thing was pulling in more than their combined salaries. And they definitely didn't know who I was about to become. I walked out of the house with my heels clicking against the cold pavement, each step louder than the last. My heart was racing, but not from shame, from control. Power, because they had no idea what I was about to do next. I didn't go home. I drove straight to the downtown building. They always mocked me for renting the one they called Oralia's fantasy office. The building I owned outright under a holding company. They'd never bothered to Google. Inside that fantasy, 32 employees were building what had just been named one of the top 10 fastest-growing AI startups in North America. You see, while they laughed at me for leaving law, I was learning code. While they were attending yacht parties, I was sleeping for hours a night building back-end architecture. I never posted about it. Never shared a single win. Not even when my app crossed 1 million users. Not even when we secured a $12 million funding round. Because I didn't want their approval. I wanted silence. Until it was time to make noise. The next morning, I sent one message in the family group chat. "Hey everyone. I'd love for you all to attend a small launch event I'm hosting next weekend. Nothing fancy, just an app demo. Come if you're free." No one replied for hours. Then Carla responded with, "Lol, what's this, your Etsy shop launch?" Ben added, "We'll come, if there's food and dad." He sent a thumbs up emoji. The same man who called me a loser 12 hours ago. I just replied, "Great, dress smart." But I had already booked the grand ballroom at the city's most expensive hotel. Full media coverage. LED screens. Investors. Tech founders. Celebrities. This wasn't just a launch. This was the storm before the silence. The ballroom shimmered with light, gold-accented chandeliers, velvet curtains. A stage that screamed something big is coming. My company's logo was displayed across giant LED panels. My staff moved like clockwork, prepping the press booth, setting up demo stations, checking guest lists. My family walked in 30 minutes late. Carla's heels clicked with her usual drama. Ben wore his overpriced blazer. And my father. He walked like he owned the room until he saw the branding everywhere. His confident stride faltered just a little, but I saw it. He leaned toward Ben and whispered, "Wait, this is her event." I smiled and walked toward them, calm and poised, like I'd done this 100 times. "Dad," I said, keeping my voice sweet, "glad you made it. I saved you a front row seat." I turned before he could respond, letting the confusion stew. The lights dimmed. My name echoed through the speakers. Introducing Oralia Winters, founder and CEO of Veritech, I walked on stage. Applause, cameras, bright lights. My father's eyes widened, And I saw it that moment. That exact second when his entire narrative shattered. Because the loser he mocked had just been announced as a tech CEO worth $20 million. I began, 2 years ago. I was sleeping on a friend's couch after leaving law school. People thought I gave up. But the truth is, I was building. Quietly, relentlessly. And today, I get to share what we built together. Veritech, a platform now used by over 3 million users globally. And we're just getting started. A journalist in the front row asked, "Why didn't you ever post about your success?" I smiled at the mic. Because I wasn't building this for likes. I was building it for leverage. A pause. Then I looked directly at my dad in the front row, and sometimes, silence is the most powerful reply to being called a loser. Gasps, a few claps. Some camera flashes. Carla stared at her phone, pretending not to care. Ben looked stunned. My father just sat there, frozen. The same man who humiliated me publicly was now being humiliated without me even raising my voice. But I wasn't done yet. I clicked the remote and a new slide appeared. Our newest board member, Ethan Winters, my little brother. The one nobody ever took seriously. And the only one who believed in me. After the event ended, people swarmed the stage, investors, reporters, startup founders, but I kept my eyes on my family. They didn't move. My father's face was stiff, trying to hold its usual arrogance, but his eyes betrayed him. For the first time in my life, he looked small. I walked over slowly, keeping that same calm expression. Carla crossed her arms. "So, you've been lying to us all this time," she hissed. I tilted my head. "No, I just stopped explaining myself to people who didn't care." Ben muttered. "This isn't even that big. Tech stuff comes and goes." I smiled. "You're right. Which is why I bought the real estate under 3 of your competitors. You'll figure that out in the next few months." Their faces dropped. And then, I turned to my dad. He stood up. "You really brought us here to embarrass us." I leaned in slightly. "No, I brought you here because you once said, 'Success speaks for itself.' So I let it speak." He clenched his jaw but said nothing. The silence between us said more than words ever could. Then I nodded toward the press still taking photos nearby. "Oh, and by the way, Dad, this whole launch, it'll be on tech news sites, finance podcasts, and YouTube. So the next time you want to talk about your successful children, just make sure your definition is updated." He didn't even reply, just turned around and walked out of the ballroom, Carla and Ben following behind, completely stunned. Ethan came up to me, grinning ear to ear. "You crushed that." "I know," I said, hugging him tightly. "You were the only one who believed in me when it mattered." Later that week, a clip from the event hit 10 million views in 2 days. The title: "She was called the loser daughter at a family reunion, then she revealed her billion-dollar truth, and guess what? I didn't just earn their respect back. I made them watch as I rewrote the entire story without ever raising my voice." 2 weeks later, I received a letter handwritten, something my dad hadn't done since I was a child. It was short, awkward, almost soft. "Oralia, I didn't know what you were doing. I should have asked. I was wrong. If you're open to it, I'd like to talk. Not about business. About being a father again." "Dad," I stared at the paper for a while. No anger, no satisfaction, just silence. The kind that comes when the war is already over. And you've won. A few days later, he showed up at my company's front desk. Wearing a plain coat. No smugness, no fake pride. Just, old and tired. "I know I don't deserve it," he said quietly when I finally agreed to see him. "But if there's any way I could just be around again, maybe even help. I'm retiring. I've lost a lot." He wanted a job at my company. I let that sink in. The man who once declared me the embarrassment of the family was now asking me to let him in. I didn't say yes, but I didn't say no either. Instead, I slid a small envelope across the table. "This is a shareholder application. Same process as everyone else. No special favors. If you want in, earn your seat." His hands trembled as he picked it up. "Thank you," he whispered. I stood, signaling the end of our meeting. "You were right, you know? Back then, when you said only the strongest survive." He nodded slowly. "But here's the part you missed. The quiet ones. The ones you ignore. We don't just survive. We build empires." He walked away that day with his head bowed. Not because I destroyed him, but because I became everything he said I couldn't be, and did it without asking for permission. That week, My story trended across platforms under the title, Daughter Humiliated at Reunion Makes Dad Beg for a Job in Her Empire, and as for me, I just kept building. Quietly, relentlessly, because, when the world underestimates you, that single quotes is the perfect time to rise. If this story made you feel anything, hit like, share it with someone chasing their dream, and remember, your silence can be your power.